Hey guys, it's Spicy, and in this video I'm going to give you guys 3 Cypher camera spots for each map on each site, because that's the key to playing Cypher after the nerf, knowing multiple camera spots, so when your opponent finds out your initial one, you can change it up and keep them guessing and keep them on their back foot. I got time tags for everything in the description, so without further ado guys, let's get into it. So on Split B Site, this is going to be the first camera spot right over here. You're going to put this on the roof, and this is going to be very hard for the opponent to see. Right over here, they're not going to see it until they're on the site, and even then, angle that this camera spot's on, it's going to be tough for them to see, because most of the time they're going to be looking at heaven and CT. So it's a good camera spot that you see into the back site and heaven. Now for the next camera spot, because this spot everyone knows about, if you still want the same effect, you can still go for it by putting it off this satellite dish over here. You can't see the choke, which actually acts to its advantage, because then people can't pre-fire it, but it still gives you the same effect because you can see into heaven and you can see the whole site. This next camera spot is going to be simply on this roof over here on the ledge. Right over here, it actually lets you see into this choke. So as soon as you see people's guns poking out over here, if you have your one-way smoke over here, you can activate it, and this camera spot still lets you see into heaven, but you can also see in the back site, so this could be really useful in a retake. And then finally, I got one more camera spot for you guys. You can put this next camera spot right over here in the corner. This camera is very hard to see for the opponent, and you can actually see onto the site as people are coming in, and you can see back site. You can also see over here, and this light over here gives it great camouflage. Alright guys, so now we're on Split A Site, and this is a camera over here that's seen a lot of esports tournaments. I saw this recently in the First Strike tournament. So the great thing about this camera spot is that it lets you see both lanes from one spot. Also at the same time, in both lanes, you're going to be able to see the opponent's feet before they actually see the camera spot. So there's a less chance of getting destroyed, and you're going to be able to act before your opponent even knows that they've been seen. This next spot right over here, this is fairly new as well. The great thing about this spot is that if you look all the way to the right, you can see into the enemy spawn. So right away you can make the call out if the enemies are going to attack A site or not. You can let your teammates know right away. You can make an early rotation if you have to, especially if it's a pistol round. It's going to be the third camera spot that I like to use. You let this go right over here. You can see CT spawn, and you can see right over here as they come into the lane. And then finally, I'm going to give you guys one more. Put it right over here. Try to put it as low as you can. And this is a very underrated camera spot. You can see this A long lane over here. You can see directly into heaven. You can see the whole A site, and all while you have this great cover from the roof over here. So 4 camera spots on A site. Keep rotating these. Alright guys, so now we're on Haven C site right over here. So for this, you're gonna get on this, get on the box. First camera is gonna be right over here somewhere. Steam coming out of this thing, so it's gonna get good camouflage right over here. So you can actually see backside as well. So this camera lets you see more area, which is good. And you can also see into the choke. You can see right over here as people come in. And if anyone maybe takes garage or they take B and they're rotating and trying to flank, you're gonna be able to see that as well. Very good camera spot. Next camera spot, a lot of people know this one, but this one's really good. I have to put it in here because this is one of those camera spots that you can always use in pistol round. You look to the right side right over here, you can tell if anyone's going to rush. So this is an essential camera spot that you have to know. It's very useful, and at the same time you can see into garage and still you can see backside. Very good spot. And then finally, you got this camera spot over here. When everything else gets taken out, you can put it on any of these pillars over here. So if you want, you can put it here like this, and you get this right over here. If you want to be a little more safe, you can put it in deeper over here like this, so they're not going to see it until it's too late, and you get to see the whole site this way as well. Now I'm only going to give you guys one camera spot in garage because you're generally not going to put a camera spot here. You're going to get on this first step, and you're going to put your camera right over here. As you can see, this is going to give you camouflage from the lighting. It lets you see directly into this choke right over here, so you're going to be able to see people before they see this camera spot. Here's how it's going to look from the opponent's point of view. As you can see, the lighting is going to blend in with the camera spot. So now we're on B site. So for this, I'm going to give you first the intel camera spots. This is a camera that you want to use to get as much intel as you can at the beginning of the round. So this camera spot you can do when the wall goes down. You're in a safe position over here, just wait, and you're going to put it on this box over here. If you look all the way to the left, you can see into garden. So if there's going to be a mid push, you're going to know right away. So this is a good spot for gaining intel. This next camera spot you're going to put right over here once the wall goes down. What this does is it lets you see the opponent as they're attacking the site. So this way you can tag them and distract them here in the middle, and maybe you can stall them while some of your teammates flank mid. And then finally for B site, if you want to look right into window, you got this camera spot right over here. You can see into window right as the round starts. So if there's an opper trying to op, you can call that out and you're going to know anyone that's coming onto the site. Now obviously this is a camera spot that can get easily destroyed and people are going to catch on to it really quick. So once people catch on to that, I would recommend switching it to this one right over here. So this is going to be to the left of the site, so people aren't going to see it until they're onto the site. At that point it's going to be too late, and most of the time this camera spot works out really well for intel and people rarely knock this one down. Alright, so now we're on A site on Haven. So the first one is going to be right over here. You're going to get on this window over here, and then you're just going to put your camera in this green area, so it's going to give it nice camouflage, and this way you can still see the whole site. And this camera is really good because once the opponent is onto the site, they're going to be looking at connector and window, so they're going to have their back turned to the camera, so that makes it a much more powerful camera as well. Then for this next spot, you're going to get on this ledge and you're going to do a run up start, get on this box. Once you're on the box, you got a couple spots over here, and then what you're going to do is you're going to put this camera right over here on this wall over here. This works out well. You're going to be able to see into B site, so if anyone flanks there or enters it on the right side, you're going to be able to see it. And still you can see A site, and the opponent's back is going to be turned to the camera, so this camera is still going to be very powerful. And then finally, from the same spot, you can come right over here to the edge and then just put your camera over here on this wall anywhere that you want. You can put it right above it, so again you can still see the whole site. You can see them as they're coming out of short, but you can also put this a little more in over here like this, put a little more further so it's harder for the enemy to see, and you get this spot. This spot works really well. The opponent's gonna have their back turned to this camera for sure, because as they're coming out of short, they're gonna look into heaven and connector, and same thing goes for long. And I've seen this camera be used multiple times by pro ciphers and first strike tournaments, and it's never gotten shot down from multiple rounds. So this is probably the best camera spot you can use right over here. So now we're on Ascent B Site. So first I'm going to give you guys the intel camera spot. This is something that you can do right after the wall goes down. This is something that I haven't seen a lot of people do right over here. You put your camera right on this window, and if you go all the way to the right, you're going to be able to see the enemy spawn. Right over here, you can make the call out right away if there's going to be people rushing this. This is great for pistol rounds. If you have to, you can do an early rotation. So this is the intel camera spot that I would tell you to do. The most versatile camera spot is this one right over here. You can see into spawn, you can see B site, you can see people enter the point. You can also see if anyone's going to be flanking from mid. I would definitely start the game with this one to get as much intel as you can as the rounds go on. And then when people catch on to that, what you want to do is you want to switch to this one right over here. This is the most textbook camera spot there is that I see players use in first strike tournaments and pro tournaments right over here. This is the safest camera spot there is, but it's also the camera spot that gives you the most intel, but more importantly, it goes really well with most Cypher setups. And the great thing about it is that even when enemies know that you're using this spot, there's not much they can do about it. Because for them to destroy this camera, they have to cross this area. And you know, when they cross this area, they're gonna have way more things to worry about than your camera spot. So that's why this camera spot right over here is probably the most powerful camera spot on Ascent after the Cypher nerf. Now we're on mid right over here. This is going to be the camera spot that I usually use if I want to put a camera in mid. I put this camera spot right above over here. I can see all the way in the mid catwalk, and I can see all of mid. This is probably one of the most powerful camera spots in the game because you can know right away what the opponent is going to do. If you see a bunch of people over here on mid catwalk, then there's a good chance they're going to go short A or long A, so you can start rotating. And if they're attacking from B side and they're going mid, you're gonna be able to see that as well. So this camera spot lets you know everything that you need to know. Now if you want to get a better look of mid link over here, you can use this camera spot over here. This works out well. You can do this camera spot right at the beginning of the round, and then once the wall goes down, you can keep looking through it and you can see if they're going to peek this area right away. So this camera spot gives you good intel on the B side. Now if you want to do an aggressive camera spot in mid, just come over here to the left side, wait for the wall to go down, and then right over here you're gonna put it on this wall like this. It's going to be a lot more deeper in, but you're going to be able to see mid catwalk with more ease, and you're going to be able to see people coming out of here before they peek this area. So this camera is definitely going to get destroyed, but it could be useful on rounds where you think they're going to eco, which means they're probably going to rush. So you can see all of mid right away, so you can eliminate mid. So now we're on Ascent A Site, and for this, I'm going to give you your first camera spot. This is going to be on the right side. You're going to come on this edge over here, and you're just going to look at the top ledge of the roof right over here. You can put it anywhere on there you want. This is usually what I do. This gives me view of the whole site. I can see people as they're coming into this choke over here, so I can activate my one ways if I have them. If anyone's coming from garden, I can see that. I can see them get caught in my trap wire. Common plant spots over here behind generator. You can also see into the basement over here. And if you want a safe spot that is going to have the opponent's back to you, this is probably the one that you're looking for right over here. The good thing about this is, yeah, you can't see the choke, but when people come onto the point, you're gonna have a great view, and you can still see garden over there. But when people come onto the point, they're gonna be looking at heaven, so they're gonna have their backs turned to this camera spot, which makes it very good. And then finally, if you want a camera spot that has a good sight of this choke, you're looking at this spot right over here. This is the camera spot you're looking at. You can't see underneath into basement, but you can see this choke pretty clearly. Mix this one up with this one over here, this common spot right over here. Once people catch on to this one, you can change it to one over there, and then you can change it to one over there. This way you got 3 spots, you can keep changing them, so the enemies won't really know which camera spot you're using. So now we're on B site on Bind, and I got a really good camera spot over here for you guys on this site. You're going to be able to see B long, and you're going to be able to see the whole site. What you want to essentially do is you want to put this camera on the corner of this ledge right over here. So you're going to do this, and make sure it's at an angle like this, and this should be good enough. You're going to let this go. And if you go all the way to the left beneath the ladder, you can see long B. And then if you go all the way to the right, you can see the whole site. A really good camera spot. People will probably catch on eventually. Do is you could start with this camera spot right over here. You can see into long B. Once people catch on to this one, you can move on to this one right over here. This works out really well. The other camera spot you can do, this one's probably the safest one. It's the most reliable one. People are going to have their backs turned to the camera once they're on the site. Let you see everything you need to know. And this camera spot is usually very good as well, because you can see into cubby if anyone wants to rotate over here, and you can still see the whole site, and you can see into backside as well. And then the next camera spot you're looking at is right over here. This one you can see into long B, and you can see into hookah. This way you can see both lanes, and you can still see the site at the same time. And if you're trying to prevent a rush and you want a camera in hookah, this is the one you want to go right over here. This one, it still exists. They haven't nerfed this yet. Hopefully they never will, because this is a great camera spot. You can see everything you need to see right over here. So now we're on A site on Bind, and the first camera spot I will show you is this one right over here. You can see into showers. You can see the whole site into short air right over there as they peek the corner. People will probably catch on to it, but keep rotating to it here and there, because this is very powerful. Then for the next camera spot, you can do it from the same spot, but you can put it right over here. Go all the way to the right, you can still see short A. You can't see showers, but you can see people as they're coming out, and you can still see the whole site. And if you want a camera spot that sees this area very clearly, you can use this one over here. So as you can see, this goes over there. The enemy won't be able to see it, but you're going to be able to see this area very clearly, which is very important because people love to smoke this area off and then plant over here. So this is an area that you can see clearly. I'm on A site over here on Icebox. So I got a couple camera spots over here for you, but for this one, you're gonna need to be able to do a crouch jump from here to here. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna have a run up start, and while you're in the air, you're gonna press control. That's gonna crouch you, and that's gonna be a crouch jump. You're gonna do it like this. See that right over here? I crouch jump and I'm over here. So from this spot, you can do a lot of good camera spots. Your first camera spot, you're going to put right over here. So this lets you know right away if there's going to be people attacking A side. You're going to be able to see into heaven on enemy side, right over here and here. This gives you a good view of the whole site as well. But if you want a more safe camera spot, you can simply put it right over here. So this lets you see the whole plant site right over here. And you can see people as they plant, and this can be very useful post plant to retake as well. And finally, if you want a more simple camera spot, you can simply put this camera over here. When the wall goes down, just do this, jump, let this go. You're gonna be able to see the whole site, and the enemies are gonna have their back to this camera when they're attacking A side as well. Now when you're in mid over here, you have a couple options. This is the first camera spot you can do to get intel. Simply put it above over here, look to the right, and you're gonna know right away if there's gonna be people attacking from mid over here. But if you want to be a little more safe and you want to get more intel of the B site right over here, you can put this camera on this orange box. This right over here, it lets you see the entry, but more importantly, it lets you see the whole plant site over here. So this camera spot makes it very easy to retake. And obviously you want to keep changing it up because people are eventually going to see this one. So then you can just move your camera to right over here. Right over here, you can still see the whole site, and you're going to know where they plant, and you can still see this whole lane. Alright guys, now for camera spots that can see B long and B site, you have a couple options. So this one is the first one right over here. If you look to the right, you can see people coming from here and that cross this area. And you can still see B side over here as they plant the spike. And if you want a more versatile camera, you can put this camera over here, come right over here, and then just put it on an angle like this. So this way, you can look to the left, you can see people coming onto the point, but more importantly, if you look to the right, you can see people coming onto the point from mid as well. This is probably the most versatile camera there is for mid because you can see both sides very well. You can see the plant site as well. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed all these camera spots. Hope you found the camera spots useful. And remember guys, if you want to play Cypher after the nerf, you have to have a bunch of Cypher setups and camera spots in your toolkit. So when your opponent finds out your initial setups and camera spots, you can change to other ones. That keeps them on their back foot. Now I'll make sure that every patch I release new Cypher camera spot videos so you guys know which spots work and which spots have been nerfed. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so that way you know when that video is released. Also remember guys, you can see these Cypher setups and camera spots and more on Twitch Spicy Curry 0 Saturday, Sunday 12 to 3 Eastern Standard Time, and random streams on weekdays. make sure you hit the follow button there and the bell so you know when I'm streaming. Remember, you can join the Discord channel. But thanks for watching guys, I'll see you next time, and as always boys, stay spicy.